If we think about the history of the 20th century in Australia, and if we think about how that history is taught in schools, for example, it kind of surprises me that one of the great social and political and cultural movements of Australian life through that time was lesbian and gay activism, becoming LGBTIQ activism. That is an extraordinary example of how Australian life changed over that time, and it happened because people made specific decisions to set about changing how they were understood and their place in public life. Now, that doesn't get taught in schools enough, if at all, and it seems to me that not doing that is teaching Australian history in a way that excludes this really important example of how people can set about changing their place in society, and doing that through largely peaceful means of standing up to authority and setting about making that decision. We've gone from a situation in Australia where people were put to death for homosexual acts in colonial Australia to a situation where 64% of people voted yes to same-sex marriage. Now, that seems to me to be a remarkable history, and it's an example of how people can set about creating change and can set about doing things that will improve their lives and improve their place in society. Ignoring that history seems to me to be teaching the history, certainly of 20th century life in Australia, with an enormous gap in it. I think what I love about history is finding out about individual lives and the contributions that individual people have made to broader social change. So one of the things I've been interested in lately is the history of Mardi Gras. And as an oral historian, I'm interviewing people or listening to interviews with people who were there at the beginnings of Mardi Gras, who made that event that is still happening 40 years later. And it's easy, I think, with an event that's been running that long to forget that it was specific decisions by specific people who made that happen and made it happen in particular ways. And maybe they didn't have, maybe their intentions weren't exactly how that event has ended up in history, but we can go back and think about what it was that they were wanting to do with that event. What were the situations that their lives were in that, at that time, that wanted them to make change and to do this event and create some difference. So I think the study of history gives us the opportunity to find out about those people and find out more about who they were and what they were hoping to do.